Yeah, so this is what Alex did. He decided that photo, and he likes the way it's slightly leaning to one side, that angle of that leg, etc. They changed that from being an acorn, and then he got an artist to draw it, this picture, and then someone did a really pants version of the side lateral projection which didn't fit, so the first metal model was all wrong. But anyway, I've got a side version there that basically fits and the frontal version that basically fits. They did both fit, but then he wanted some more changes, so it no longer fits perfectly. But that's my skin. So I didn't do a skin for, well, I did do a skin for the tail. I've deleted it because it's so big, because I made it all fluffy, and it's much easier if it's all flat parts. So this is a slightly wonky view because it makes this line parallel to this line here, whereas that's what it'll actually look like. It's more that's in normal perspective view. So you can see there, that's the tail plan. It's going to be those different sections. If I take that's, no, let's not have that one. It's of steel only. Oh dear, this may be jettisoned then. It's got it. Okay, so that's the steel sections, and you can see that plinth there, so that plinth at the bottom has got some internal stuff on it. Let's turn it all off by bits. So that's the original steel, and inside the plinth is that kind of bars, and then they put that on together, and that's, now I've convinced them to make the tail section part of that, and that should be the right width. It's not the right width with the feet, so the feet go on later. Obviously that will have wood on the feet. That kind of wood. So in fact, if I tell you what I should do, is I should do this. Aha, I've worked out why it's slow. There we go. Right, that should be better. So basically they make these bits they make that with that then fits onto the metal and feet that come with it, and there are some things like this piece here. You can see that one there slots in. It's got a slot there. It's going to go wonky there. Yeah, so that slots into there to go in there. So that's the bottom half. That is 2 meters tall. Let's just visualize that. That's some people there. Some of them are standing on each other's shoulders because we wanted to see if they're actually tall enough to touch the tail, which they're not. So then on top of the blue layer is the dark blue layer. That's the steel. That's the wood. That is well, I'll just turn both those two layers on. Although the problem here is that the one arm is attached to there, and you can see that when I put these thingies on, it's kind of, I can only put half the ribs on. Then the other half of the steel has the other arm on, and then I can put its ribs on, and then those two bits are going to have to get put together in order for me to put these bits of arms on. Once there's actually, once you can attach wood to both the top and the bottom half. Then head is pretty simple. It's just some steel, some thingies. There's a slight angle change because the head is at a jaunty angle. I could have done a straight angle through there, but it would just confuse the art people, because it's hard to not visualize it as that being the central line, even though that means that the actual piece of wood's got to be wonky. Tails, pretty simple now. It used to be a terrible design. It's now a good design of just that with that, and we're going to have to hide one piece of steel in there that's not going to be external, and then that piece of tail, that piece of ply. So yes, so that's the tail on its own, and you can see that actually there's two layers there, and they just pop on top of each other. That matches that. So a bit of a waste of wood in some ways, but it's got to match. You know, this is not going to get put together until it gets to site. So that curve there needs to join that curve there perfectly. And how you actually do all this is you go to the skin, which so here's the model like that, and what I actually did was I had a skin like this, and I pretty much just made some rectangles and moved them into somewhere like that. Then I can go into that, intersect face with model, and I've now intersected it not just with the external but also with the internal metal which is on there. So you can see there now I could take that piece of, let's pretend it's 2 by it's much bigger than what we're talking about, and then it doesn't quite work. I could delete, basically I would then probably decide, let's just have enough wood to click between there and there, and maybe go to there or something, so that I don't actually need this whole bit of wood here. So I could just use these kind of dual coordinates, but then it's confused because it wants it to be a flat section, so I then have to tell it, oi, that there is the shape I want, and I want you to be a complete shape, and therefore fill yourself in. Anyway, that's how I got those shapes of wood. And where are those shapes of wood? That's all the different sections. That's just the ribs of the bottom section, 2 sections that is. That's just the ribs of the next 2 sections. That's just the ribs of the head, and that's just the 2 sections of tail, and that's them all spread out like that. And then they're all displayed on the ply like that. That's them all together, and each individual piece looks like that, and they're all labelled. So if I want to know what that is, should tell me that it's called pink foot left, and that's an explanation for the guys to say that's what they're all called when you get them out the CNC machine, where they're all cut, so you can put them together right. And I've got one of them for each, for each layer or whatever. And then I've got some dimension views of how they go again. Plan view, how far between these ribs. So the logical one is 1.2 because that actually fits on the wood. 1.22 obviously does, but the CNC machine can't cut to the very edge of the wood. So that is basically it. Like,